Right?
I did an event with Eva Longoria at somewhere in Hollywood, and I called somebody a cracked out fucking horse scarecrow.
Hilarious.
And
so what did Eva say?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Producer Grant here. Today's fantastic conversation with Pauly Shore being cut into two pieces. So first part this week, second part next week. George's crazy schedule popped up, so we ended up not being able to get in one for an upcoming week. So this wonderful conversation is being divided into two parts. Please enjoy part one.
Hello, everyone. Hola, mis amigos. You're listening to Oh My God, Hi, Hijo de Dios. Hola. With me, George Lopez, porque ¿sabes qué? Let's do the show, porque I got a lot of things to do. I gotta go to that dry cleaner ahí. My kid fell, se pegó la cabeza. I gotta go get some Neosporin Paul.
You know what George is?
Oh, I'm sure he's around here somewhere.
What's his name? George?
Lopez.
George Lopez.
Oh my God!
OMG.
OMG! Hi!
Oh my God, hi.
you know, I think if there was a historian that's still in the game, somebody that knows where the bodies are buried, somebody knows.
Or how would you say that in Espanol? The body.
Donde están los cuerpos muertos.
Under the thing. Español.
And not españoles, español. Pauly Shore, what brings you to me?
Well, doctor.
How have you been feeling of late?
I've known you forever, but I never hung out with you.
We never hung out?
You know what I mean? It's like, I think the last time I gave you a hug was probably at Richard Pryor's.
Right.
Richard Pryor's funeral.
And
right?
a lot of the guys,
I mean, is that true?
I hated you for your success, but it was on a high level, so congratulations.
Thank you.
It was wonderful to see it happen. It happened pretty fast, too.
Yeah, it was quick. But, so that was the last time I gave you a big hug, because both of us were very, very affected by, Richard, because we're around the same age, so we kind of grew up at the same time, and we were lucky enough to be able to be friendly with him and to see him. And it was a heavy funeral and stuff. And I remember seeing you, and it was just like fucked up.
Fuck, these guys are around your whole life. I mean, you saw them, you grew up around them, and you see him deteriorate a little bit, and then I think if you deteriorate a little bit, he had MS early 90s, and then he still loved it, man. He still went to the store when he was sitting in his wheelchair, and he was touring Circle Star Theater up near San Francisco, and he was still doing it.
Oh, really?
Which meant it was who he was, man.
Yeah, no, he I had brought him on a lot, towards that time. My mom was there, and we would kind of carry him. I think Harris Pete was there. This is before Chewy, and I think Chewy was there a little bit after that. But he was just till the end. He wanted that microphone in his hand, and that's my dad too. My dad died at 92 years old, and we in this casket we put a microphone. You know what I mean? Because that's what we do.
Okay, so people, if they don't know, your dad was a famous comedian.
Yeah,
and he opened for every singer, opened for Elvis,
Barbra Streisand, Sammy Davis. I mean, that's how the whole thing started. Is my dad was, he hooked up with my mom in the late 50s, and he was performing at a place called Elkhart Lake, and they had sex, and then she got pregnant, and then and then the store was the store after that. But he was one of the first stand-up comics in the 50s. Touring.
He was touring, and then for a stand-up comic to have enough wisdom and to be smart enough to say, I'm going to open this club on Sunset. It used to be Ciro's, which is a famous...
he got the offer from a guy named Frank Senes, who owned the building, and he was just like, he went to Rudy DeLuca, and my dad, Rudy was his partner, his writing partner, and he says, hey, Sam, and you want to open a room right here on Sunset?
Yeah.
And then he says, Rudy, let's do this. And it was like it was my dad and Rudy DeLuca. And it started in 72, and that's when like Red Fox was there, and Pat McCormick, and even Dave Tyree. He had the Natural Gas, which was with Vic Dunlop,
right,
and all that shit, and Lenny Schultz, and Michael Keaton, and all those guys. So that was the beginnings, you know, and it was just, you know, it was the right place, right time. And then my mom took it over, and then it just kind of blew up because that's who she was. She was she liked to develop the comedians, and that's what she started with my dad, because she started developing my dad's shit.
Right.
And then it was just kind of a natural to her, you know, to develop other comedians.
The one thing about the Comedy Store that hasn't changed is the colors, like black, white, and red.
Like the Raiders, bro.
And the sign's still the same. The signature's up there, and it is like you know, the Getty House of comedy. Like you go by the Getty House, it still looks the same as it did.
Yeah.
You look at the Hearst Castle, still looks the same. You drive by the Comedy Store, it looks like it always has looked, even though the Hyatt House next door.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody jump off the thing. They close all the balconies up.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, like you said, Dave Tyree. So Dave Tyree was almost like one of those guys like Robin Harris, who like Spike Lee used and Do the Right Thing. He had a heart attack in Chicago. Dave Tyree was a funny fucking dude, man.
Yeah, the best.
A killer.
Hilarious.
How does a dude like that not get a little attention?
I think because he was on coke and a lot of alcohol, and he was like following Robin Williams around, and and it was just kind of a party, and I don't know, you know, you could say that for a lot of guys like Mitchell Walters, and you know, Alan Stevens, who's very funny,
right?
You know, a lot of these guys, I think it
Alan
was like
Stevens
a lot
good.
of the drugs and the alcohol and just kind of like the time. Argus Hamilton is a great example of someone who's fucking genius and so good, but because of the coke and the drugs and the alcohol, I think that fucked him up.
Well, you know, I think back then too, like you didn't go to the store or you didn't go to a club thinking about being on TV because it was a smaller thing. You just worked about performing. See you tomorrow night. You come tomorrow night? Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night.
Yeah.
On the weekends was great.
Yeah.
It's always been the place to perform. It's always been the place to be.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was you know, you can blame the drugs and the you know, and that era of you know, some people not making it, and also the people that did the drugs, they all died, like Belushi, and even Robin, you know, was pretty fucked up with it for a while, and Tennyson and all these guys. So it's like, you know, I had this saying that I came up with a long time ago: dance with the devil, don't become the devil, which is like, it's okay to party, dip your foot in the water, but don't do 4-day bingers. Like, for me, like, you know, I was fortunate, knock on wood, that I didn't have that bug in me, you know, to just go along. You know, you never hear stories about me going like, oh shit, I party. You know, that's like, you know, I stayed out with Pauly Shore for, you know, I just, you know what I mean? I don't know if it's I'm Jewish. I don't know if because it's not in my system. Even when I have a drink now, it's like 2 is enough. Yeah. I don't need to keep going, you know, and so I learned that.
What do you think is the thing that makes people drink and keep going? Like you say, you're happy with 2 now.
Yeah. I've always been happy with 2. You know, I've always been that guy. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, you know, I just have control. You know what I mean? I think I just have control and not to go over, you know, peek at it, but don't, you know, and I think that's, you know.
Was Mitzi Shore, was she in the business, or what did she do before she met your dad?
She was just a kind of an artist. You know, she went to school in Wisconsin at Madison, and she was like bohemian, and she was just very much like, you know, a bohemian chick, and she like, you know, liked arts, and that was kind of her thing. But she was a natural kind of development type person because she did that with my father. You know, she helped Sammy do this. I tried this, and it just kind of was like a natural thing, you know.
I saw your dad too in Vegas one time. He was with somebody like Buddy Hackett, just hanging out with some
well, he
dudes.
did that. My dad was part of the Friars Club,
right,
back in the day. You know, where he was with Milton Berle and Sid Caesar, and you know, so he was like, you know.
So there was a Friars Club in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, that was the best one.
The best one. They tore it down. And they put something there. I had a rap party for my first show there. It was great. Wow. Then there's a Friars in New York. That's a great building. That's the other one. I'm a member. You're probably a Friar. I'm a Friar.
I haven't been a Friar in a while.
Oh, you could go in there and drink and relax, have meetings, and do your thing in there in privacy, huh?
Yeah.
That's what it was for comedians.
Oh yeah. Do they still do like the roasts and stuff?
They do events in New York.
Oh cool. I'll go grab Gil. He's here.
Was it natural that you were going to become a comedian and an actor?
I don't know. I mean, my brothers and my sister didn't really get into it, and they grew up in it. I mean, I was just always fascinated by it. So, like, I would go to the store. I was, like, in awe of, like, you know, Cheech and Chong, or I would see Lenny Schultz, or I would see, I don't know, all the guys that were there. So I was just, like, I was, like, you know, like a kid. Like, everywhere a comic went, I was there, you know. So I just loved it, you know. So I started in 12th grade. Is when I started.
Yeah.
You know, that's when I started. I was like 17, 18 years old.
And you'd be there.
But then I hit quick.
Yeah.
I hit quick, you know, but I had the extra pressure on me because I was Mitzi's kid.
Right.
So I had to, like, you know, and then the MTV thing came and it just, like, took off.
What was the first thing, the MTV thing?
That was the first big thing.
Did they want you? Did you audition?
No, it wasn't like that. It took a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I shit the bed, you know, the first couple times.
Right.
And I was very nervous, and I didn't really know my cadence and my character and anything, just like I was 19, 20 years old. So I was, like, trying to figure it out when they brought me down there for spring break.
Right.
You know, they brought me.
on MTV.
Yeah, and it was just like, you know, I mean, even Chris Rock says it. It's like MTV at that time was bigger than Saturday Night Live. It was just like all the kids went to MTV, you know, to see what the fuck was going on, and I just... Right time, right place.
And then when you were Rock, that had Bangers Ball, they had like hard rock,
hip hop,
They
heavy metal,
covered
grunge,
it,
all
and
that shit.
everybody watched MTV.
Yeah, so it was so that was it. And when I hit on that, I started drawing people at the store. I had, like, a following, and then because my mom didn't make me a paid regular for a long time. You know, it took a while. And even when I became known, she still didn't want me to be a paid regular. She's like, you're not ready, you know, you're not ready. And she's right, you know, just because it takes years to really develop and get comfortable, you know, on stage. I was at the store last night, and I was watching Brian Holtzman. I don't know if you're familiar with Brian Holtzman. Do you know Brian Holtzman?
No.
You'll know him. Trust me. He's like a late night store guy.
Yeah.
And you know, Rogan is kind of taking him under his wing out in Austin, and Bill Burr just did a special for him last night that Mike Binder directed.
Oh, good.
And they filmed it, and they filmed Brian. I was so happy, and I was so proud to see, you know, to see him really pop, because he'd been at it for at least 20-something years at the store, trying to fucking, you know, what's up, my man? I didn't do it. Please, don't arrest me.
Who'd you catch
Don't
now?
arrest me, bro.
You know Gil?
Gil in the house.
Hi, Gil.
Gil Carrillo, Pauly Shore.
Cool. You look familiar. There you go.
To my mother.
Yeah, you look familiar.
That's what the criminals say.
Welcome, Gil. It's an AA meeting. We're glad you could show.
I'm glad I'm here.
Thanks for being here.
I'm just an alcoholic. Have a beer, please.
I had all the alcohol removed earlier in the day.
I've seen you before.
Flat water.
Yeah. Because I know you guys. I know that he's in charge of all the homicides in town in LA.
I'm just glad I'm not a homicide victim.
Well, the guy that Brian Laundrie, he
Oh wow.
He predicted where they would find Brian Laundrie when Brian Laundrie was on the run.
Oh wow.
He said they're probably going to find him in the swamps.
That's right.
Deceased, and he did. He said.
So.
And they wouldn't find him in the swamps either, because there's no scent that gets carried through there.
Nothing. He was.
So did he kill himself, or he just died out there?
It's hard to say. You know, I listened to some guy later on after.
Was this after you had sex with him? Pillow talk?
After.
Whoa,
after,
bro.
Yeah. He rolled over.
Yeah, but he wasn't talking about it.
He went right to sleep.
Yeah.
What did he say?
That guy said he was a former Green Beret guy, survivalist, still teaches the Green Beret shit, survival techniques. He said out there, he says, number one, he'd have to be sleeping in a tree. He could not sleep on the ground because the critters, everybody will get to him.
Fuck.
There's no food. He's got to know what he's doing. He's got to know how to survive. You know, he's not just an everyday, this is serious business. And if he didn't do that, well, then either the critters or the animals are going to get to him.
Right.
So no disrespect at all. Obviously, I know this gentleman. I've known him for years. Tell me a little bit about yourself so I don't say anything improper.
There's nothing you can have. There's absolutely nothing you can say is going to be improper.
Yeah, but
give
tell
him a
me
little bit of
exactly
this.
your
Give him a little
history.
bit.
Your history, yeah.
Yeah.
I became 17. Cop took me home, told me to have my parents sign, get me off the streets, or I'd be in prison or dead.
And this is back in the 80s
This is
El
back
Salvador,
in
where?
1967 right here in L.A.
Salvador.
Where from?
Yeah,
East L.A.?
He's from here.
Well, Pico Rivera, actually.
Okay.
And so did that, went in, came out, got matured.
What is that? Is that someone calling?
turn
Or
that off.
getting in
Yeah,
trouble?
turn this thing
Kill that
off.
bad boy.
What are the chimes?
Yeah, chimes. Chimes. So
fucking
go on.
chimes
So
off.
the 60s in
Yeah,
Pacoima,
60s.
you said?
No, he's from Pacoima. He's
No, I'm
from-
not fucking San Fernando. Don't
San
start no
Fernando.
shit.
Yeah.
How dare you?
909, dude. 909.
Hey,
fucking
this
talk- we don't talk
this
about
is
that
good.
shit, eh?
This is good. This is
So,
getting
we're
really
getting
good.
along good,
You
bro.
know,
¿Sabes qué?
I can't tell
So
you
go
how
on.
excited I was. I was pissed off because I'm late. My battery just, don't ask me why it didn't do anything.
You're probably sitting in the fucking car listening to radio with it off. This ain't no AC Delco battery that can run forever.
All I did was turn it off to pump gas to get down here. And then
So just give me your background really
So
quick.
came back, went to school, went to college. Ended up marrying the girl that I wanted to break up with because she had dumped me when I was in Vietnam. It was Dear John. She dumped me. I wanted to get her eaten out of the palm of my hand. Got back 6 months after. All I want to do, eat right there, and then I want to break it off with you and get revenge.
Yeah.
6 months after I got back, we got married.
Okay.
And we just had our 50th wedding anniversary. 38 years as a
Wow.
cop, 26 as a homicide
So
cop.
30. So you're a cop.
Well,
Still?
retired. No, retired. A matter of fact, this month will be 12 years retired.
But he'll still like,
Yeah.
like Scooby Doo. He'll still get in his fucking
So when you
Escalade
say-
and solve a
Yeah, but
crime.
what type of cop is he?
I was a good cop.
No, but what
smart.
did you- what was
Sheriff's
your thing?
Department. My specialty was homicides.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so I
you
did-
did the was it the side strangler?
No, Hillside Strangler. My partner worked on Frank Salerno. I was a co-lead investigator with him on the Night Stalker, Richard
The Night
Ramirez.
Stalker.
Yes.
Because I remember the Night Stalker because I grew up on Sunset Strip. So I remember in the 80s. It was the 80s, right?
85.
Richard Ramirez.
1985. Arrested
Yeah, I
Don
remember
Ramirez.
that. Yeah, I remember that. So why are there so many crime documentaries, and why is everybody so? I mean,
That's
if you
all
watch
everybody-
Netflix, you just like there's no comedy, there's no this. I mean, you got Chappelle, a couple
true.
things, boom, 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 but it's all about who killed this and who killed that. And the thing that I don't like about all those documentaries is that it's good for a while, like like people are talking about, but I want to see the fucking guy. You know what I
my
mean?
guy's
Like,
dead.
Right.
But no, not him, but any of the killers.
Well, why do you think that we have a fascination with that? Because people want to kill other people. They're fascinated by.
Why do we like to
I think
watch
they're
that?
just fascinated. They're armchair detectives. They want to be able to solve them. That's what true crime's about. These people just want to get out there and think it's easy to go ahead and solve these crimes. They think they know because they watch it, and that's why they're doing.
But why are we as a society so fascinated with movies and documentaries of slave? Because like, what is it, HLN? If HLN
Yeah.
didn't have murders, or if there weren't murders, then HLN wouldn't exist.
And HLN was kind of like they did Showbiz Today, they did news, and now it's all how it really happened.
See,
And
questions
and
like that are above my pay grade. Those are for doctors. I don't even know what HLN is.
It's a CNN. It's
Yeah,
like
headline-
part of the family.
Headline news. Ah.
But
Yeah,
they don't do
but-
news anymore. Just
Just
like
headlines.
just like Oxygen used to be touchy-feely movies.
Yeah.
Now they got Oxygen. It's a crime channel.
Yeah.
So why are we so fascinated with watching crimes?
I can't answer that question.
Really?
I'm a simple-minded Mexican from the neighborhood. Just happy to be here, excited to be here with two icons, actors, comedians. I mean, this is...
But I think they glorified Manson, so they just kind of daisy chained through. Like Manson, Hillside Strangler,
Ted Bundy,
Dahmer, Zodiac Killer. So through the years, they just kind of strung things along. I think if maybe they'd gone away, maybe it would have gone away, but they hadn't gone away.
I really don't know. They're bringing back... They just brought back the Toolbox Killer. And these were guys who were picking up girls and taking them on, torturing them, and it was ugly.
Wow.
And nobody even knew about it then. I knew about it because I was working homicide at the time, and lead investigator, a good friend of mine. I knew all about the case, but you never heard about it. Social media wasn't around then. None of this problem. So now all of a sudden it's being resurrected because true crime is
Do
important to people
detectives do detectives still with DNA and all that now? Is it what's the process? If Pauly and I are officers and you show up and let's say Grant's dead.
I think that's a TV show. Fuck this whole thing. I think
Grant's
you just
struggling.
said it.
He's
We're a
clinging
TV
to life.
show.
now. You and him are lead detectives on a case.
We step out of the way and we tell you as you come in what happened. We came in. This guy was laying down.
You know,
Spread
I
wide
gotta
open.
believe people ask me all the time, in light of what we have available to us today with DNA and all the forensics that are out there, would you have solved the Night Stalker quicker? I don't know, because he didn't have, even DNA back then.
You're lucky that motherfucker had a toothache, or else he'd still be running out there.
Exactly. Well, today's serial killers, if they're out, and I'm sure they're still out there, they're much sharper. They're staying up with the times, so they know what they got to do to avoid prosecution, because murder's it's an irrational act followed by acts of rationality.
But they're all egomaniacs.
Oh yeah. Richard says, "I got an ego that'll fill this room."
They all are.
And then what
egomaniacs.
about the people that go in prison for crimes they didn't commit? Like you watch, what is it? Not the Tiger King, the other one. The other big murder thing with the, you know what I'm talking about.
Sure, there are those guys, and I watch.
Is that called a bad lawyer? What is that?
It's called a bunch of screw ups.
Fucked up, right?
Yeah,
Even if you say like, "Hey, I didn't fucking do this."
Yeah.
Sit your ass
I watch some of these programs,
sit that
and I
fucking
sit there and I tell if I'm watching, if my wife's right there, I'll say, "Well, that's a fucked up confession." They're feeding him all the information. He's regurgitating what they're telling him. Hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. And so when you make mistakes like that at the investigative level, and I just watched one the other day, and my daughter is sitting there saying, "Dad, how could they do this?" Well, shit, they only had one murder, like in 3 years. Here it is, and these guys are handling it. And the same thing with the shooting. The actor that just did the
Oh, the Alec
watch
Baldwin one?
Yeah,
I've been following that. Yeah.
you watch that. Those cops have never had a problem like that before. They're handling the media.
It's a bizarre.
And
Have you
so
used
there's so much.
Did you ever use a gun in movies?
Yeah, we did it. I don't know. The Army movie we did a while ago. We did. Yeah, we used all that shit. But it was no real fucking gun.
But the first thing that goes on a small movie like that is safety.
Yep.
The first thing that fucking goes. Because even they had issues earlier in the shoot, but then that morning the camera crew walked out. They're like, "Fuck this, man. It's just dangerous." And then that happens. And then they find 500 rounds.
It's fucking weird, man.
Strange.
What is all
As long
this?
as they had
on
good
here?
food, I'd have stood on set.
That's cool. What does that say?
Darkness. That's
Darkness.
Charlie Murphy.
Oh wow. So were you close with Charlie? Yeah. Crazy, huh?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Didn't want to go to the doctor.
What did he
Everybody
have?
go to the doctor. He had leukemia. But he didn't want to go to the doctor. I think if he would have gone earlier than when we mentioned it to him. But I think he was afraid. People are afraid.
Yeah.
I just had
I'm not afraid.
I just had my brain scanned yesterday because I have an ear thing.
And how did
I have an ear. It's called I think it's called like eustachian tube dysfunction. I have a fullness in my ears, so like my ears are always full all the time for the last like 5-6 years. Where you know how you fly in a plane, and then your ears are clogged, and you go like this, they declog.
Yeah.
Well, my shit's always clogged.
Oh, man.
So you got to go to the MRI. They go a CAT scan and MRI. They do everything right there, and then they tell you, and the doctor's best in the business. He says, you shouldn't do it. You're good. Because you don't want to start cutting, you know what I mean, and start doing it.
Do they do that?
Unless it's really not.
What causes that?
They don't know. I thought it's kind of like cancer. You just don't know. You know what I mean? Like my friend died of a brain tumor, cancer. It's just like, how'd you get it? Like, I don't fucking know. Just one day
Do they put tubes in there for that?
I did that already. What happened was I went to Cedars-Sinai, and I asked their doctor for a year, and he couldn't figure it out. I said, "Who's your version at UCLA?" So they sent me to this guy Gopin, and they did a scan, and this was all before COVID, and they said, "Oh, you have this kind of fullness thing." But back to Charlie Murphy, it's like, and I'm like, as they're checking my head, I'm like, do I have cancer? Do I have tumors and all that shit? Because they could tell. So thank God, none of that shit.
Good.
You know what I mean?
It's scary to be sick.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Because you're not going to get better overnight. Everybody wants to get better faster. But when you're really sick, you got to stay diligent and go to the doctor or not. And if you have pain or you have discomfort, go to the doctor, because if you don't go, you can't win. You won't beat it, whatever it is.
So what do you think about what's going on now in our world, the comedy world? Just about sensitive and all that shit. How are you working on it?
I still work the way I've always worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that I mean, they're fucking jokes, man. Seriously. I mean, if a politician would say it, I would take it more serious than a fucking comedian saying it. I mean, we're supposed to say shit that doesn't make any sense or that's mean.
Yeah.
You know, comedy is about when shit goes wrong, not when it goes right.
But you've also been the type of comic where you never really crossed the line anyways, even before this.
Yeah.
You kind of went to the line,
Yeah.
right? Kind of hit the line. That's always been my style as well.
Yeah.
I never was like the guy that, you know, I maybe say things here and there, but it's out of like love.
Right.
And it's, oh shit, so I didn't mean to say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That type of shit. But I was never that guy.
But I mean, you look at TikTok, like we talk about that guy, that raider that was flashing weapons and TikTok.
Yeah.
So anybody, you know, there's some funny people on TikTok. They wouldn't last on a stage, but for creation and content, they're funny. They get a little following there.
It's interesting, and this is something that I'm sure you're dealing with. You know, when me and you started, you know, back in the 80s or 90s or whatever that time was, there was not, you know, you wanted to get on TV, you wanted to get on the stage, you go to LA, New York.
Right.
And you worked your way up, and and that was just like the conveyor belt, and that was it, and that was the way you did it. Period. Even up to like the last 10 years, and now because of social media, like the guys like us, I don't want to say the talented guys, but the guys that have put in the work, are kind of getting diluted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A little bit. And I get like, you know, we prevail, like we'll always prevail, but still at the end of the day, more people are watching, you know, the comments on their TikTok or their comments on their own shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we never had that. I don't want to say competition, because they're not competing against us, but they're still fucking, you know, putting their face.
You want to read some bad ones?
Putting their face on camera.
Right.
You know, like when we were growing up, there's 10 networks, maybe 15 at the most, and now there's thousands.
Now there's thousands.
You know, and I think pretty soon TVs are going to be obsolete. And they're, you know, because you're going like, I got this house, and I'm like, oh shit, how many TVs do I want in it? And I'm like, well, not a lot, because most people just watch their shit on their computer.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, I honestly think that like TVs are going to be gone.
They talked about a time when nobody had a TV in their wall because they do it on their computer, or they're happy looking at it on their phone.
That's the way it's going to be.
And they want to be able to move around.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting in one place for fucking 10 hours watching the making of a murder.
But it's interesting, you know, like you're in a coma, you know, in the 90s, and you wake up now, and everyone's like at the coffee shop just staring at their things, and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yep.
And you know, and then you go to Starbucks, and they say, okay, that's, you know, a certain amount of money. You try to give them cash, and like, we don't take cash here.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it's Apple Pay. You know what I mean? Oh, we don't. I mean, there's so many places that don't take cash.
Or fucking Grubhub or Postmates. You put it in your phone.
Yeah.
You say what you want.
Everything's safe.
And then
You don't have
also,
to
even
think
like,
about it.
you know, I went to the concert last week, the Rolling Stones or Guns N' Roses, or you're going to, there's no more ticket stubs.
Yep.
You know how like I was with my brother Scott, and I'm like, he's like, oh, I want to go take a piss or go get a beer. I'm like, well, you can't give him his ticket, because I got him, they sent me it on an email on my computer. I mean, there's something cool about holding a ticket. I'm not saying all the concerts, but that's kind of how it's going.
I still,
like the
I printed, I have it on my phone, but I'm in that trend. I still don't trust this.
Yeah.
Give me paper. So I print it out, and I have it folded in my pocket. Hey, just in case.
I don't think anybody saw technology going that way. Like, you know,
dude, it's intense.
When guys would record their sets, they did it on a cassette recorder.
Yeah.
Never video until by the 1990s.
And then when you're on stage, do you care if someone takes a picture or films your set?
I do care, but they got people that take care of that.
I know, but what happens if you find someone in the audience that's filming and you see it? Do you say something?
Yeah, I do. I used to say more, but they do a pretty good job of. I mean, you can't stop everybody in there, but if I see it, I'll make them.
I think all the clubs should have Yonder. You know, the cases.
Yeah.
I think every fucking club should have that.
What's Yonder?
It's a pouch.
So you go in.
I was going to put your fucking phone on it before our interview, but, when it's fucking buzzing, I'm like, this asshole shows up and starts, no, it's basically,
They take it from you and you put it in there, and it's a bag that pouch. Yeah. And if you want to use the phone, you go outside and use it.
And you get to hold on to your phone, but it's in like a pouch that you can't open, right? Yeah.
Way better.
Way better.
But because as a comic, we write, but we also write on stage.
Right.
And that's then, right. And that was like, how we develop our stuff. And if you have to think about, that's what's fucked up about a lot of stand-up, because, I want to go up there and say what the fuck I want to say. Yep. And I don't want to, say something racist or, I'm like, yo, motherfucker, I'm just trying to figure this shit out on stage.
I did an event with Eva Longoria at somewhere in Hollywood. And I called somebody a cracked out fucking horse scarecrow.
Hilarious.
And so what did Eva say?
She said, I know you're not talking to me, motherfucker. And when I got home, on the bottom of Channel 9, the feed,
God.
it had that I was expecting to get a call from somebody. We're calling them up.
You're also a little Disney-esque. George Lopez.
Motherfucker.
Well,
what do you mean Disney-esque?
Well, you're Americana.
Yeah.
Your style, you're like very America.
Yeah.
So you represent, you're not the underbelly, kind of raunchy comic.
No.
You're like very Disney-esque. Like, I'm not saying you're a Disney guy, but you're America.
I do a little bit of everything.
Well, we know that, but you're still known.
Yeah.
I'm known as America too.
Yeah.
I'm Mitzi's son, and I blah blah blah, and I had the podcast and da da da. But I think our images are
and Gil's known from fucking El Salvador.
El Salvador, dude. Salvador Dali, right?
The Pacoima of Middle.
You ever run into somebody who was driving 156 miles an hour and hit somebody?
Fuck no. And I'm glad I wasn't.
I was driving 80 the other day, and I'm like going, and I'm thinking of that dude. I'm like, 80's fast.
I've driven.
Like add another 50.
Add another 50.
Residential too.
Fucking,
Oh my God.
I've driven a car 110 miles an hour. On
That's
duty.
far.
On duty. And I'm sitting there saying, I can't imagine how anybody can handle a car.
Oh, yeah.
Today's cars, street cars, any faster than that, because they're very, very sensitive.
Was he blacked out drunk? Yeah.
Oh, fuck yes.
Driving with no recollection? Probably not, right?
150. Well, he knew right after it happened because he was out there crying, saying, "Oh fuck."
Uh-oh.
He just threw an awful lot away, but he's sad today.
Yeah. Well, I think his blood alcohol was like 1.161, but that was after they got to the station.
So he's 22 years old. So they're sentencing him this week or next week.
Oh, they haven't even had a hearing on him yet.
Mm-hmm.
So what should take about 40 years? You think?
Probably not. He's never had a record. He's never done this. He's well known. He's been good. So they're going to spank him, but it's still going to be a murder. He's probably going to get, somewhere
20?
between 15, 25 years.
Yeah.
And he'll get probation because he got no record.
Yeah.
It happened.
Just a bad mistake.
I feel sorry. My heart goes out, as it always does, to the victims and their family members. But the realities are, the way socialism is today, the way they socialize everything, well, he really wasn't a bad guy. Didn't do that much bad. So you sentence this guy, to 40 years in prison when local guys here that are using guns to intentionally kill people don't get that kind of time.
What do you think about the this whole I don't want to call it a liberal movement, but like the movement of people breaking into CVS and just stealing stuff and not being arrested? But you know what I mean? This petty thing, you see it?
Yeah.
It's very common now, especially in
it is.
like Seattle or LA. Like
people are doing it not only in stores, they're doing it in restaurants where they just go and order food and then get up and
how
walk
long
out.
do you think until a Republican becomes a president again and he starts to go da da da?
Until we got to do a couple of things. We got to recall the current district attorney right now for Los Angeles, at least locally. I'm not going to solve it.
Is that Gil
globally. No, Garcetti.
I bet you're friends with Gil Garcetti.
Not lately. His son Eric is the mayor, but the new one right now is Gascon, and he just letting everybody go free, not filing a bunch of
So
charges.
is it, George? Is it the $1,000 or wait? Is it like $200? Anything under $200, they just leave it alone? Or?
They're not doing anything. A burglar, which is a felony.
Man, that's fucked
right now, a burglar gets arrested, goes in, gets booked, gets interviewed, and then they give him a ticket to get out of jail.
It's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah, because he's not filing not violent cases right now. And he's not doing a lot
so
of things.
you're saying if I went and stole a Snickers at like some depot thing and they caught me, they would put me in jail or they wouldn't?
No, they'd give you a ticket and let you go right there.
It's crazy
Just for a Snickers.
shit.
Yeah.
Then there's no deterrent to being a
No,
shoplifter.
what is there? There is absolutely no deterrent.
Or if you're hungry, you go into a market and grab some stuff and walk out with it.
That's it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's...
And they just released a murderer. A kid was just a couple of months shy of his 18th birthday, so they filed murder. They
Oh, wait,
convicted
is
him
this
as an
the
adult.
guy- Is this the guy and the little white kid in the middle of the country? Or
No, this is right here in L.A. County.
Okay, copy.
And he was 18 years old. You know, they prosecuted him. They said they prosecuted him as an adult. Well, now it's up for review, and so Gascon is refusing to refile as a juvenile. He's done enough time already. Let him go. So he's going to get out. He's walking out. And this is all with a new district attorney for Los Angeles County right
So
now.
is he the one that decided about this whole you can shoplift and it's all good thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Why did you decide to move to Las Vegas? Because, your mom was here, the store all those years, right? Your dad.
Yeah.
And to leave Los Angeles, California for somebody like you, because you grew up here, is a big deal.
Yeah.
And when did you decide?
A lot of it was just, I'd been here my whole life. I'm 53.
Yeah.
I grew up at the store
Yeah.
since the 70s. I didn't know anything else but that. LA started to shift, because of what was going on, obviously. And I wanted, and my parents both passed.
Yeah,
And,
condolences. Man.
Yeah, my parents passed, and I was fighting with my brothers. I was fighting with them, and everything settled, and I just wanted to be happy, and I just wasn't. LA just didn't represent happiness to me.
Good for you.
In Vegas, to me, my dad's widow's out there. I got a lot of close friends there.
Good.
It's show business. It's close, and to me, Vegas represents happy.
Right.
It's just a very happy place. Obviously, unless you lose all your money, but if you're having a good time, you go to the Wynn, you can sit down and have a nice dinner, you go to the Bellagio. You guys saw Rod Stewart a week ago. I saw the Stone. It's just like a really fun, there's the Laugh Factory there, Harry's there. It's just, it represents
And
happy.
I think after a while, you take the part of Vegas that's for you and you leave the rest. Like if you want to go to a show, go have dinner, you go to a show, you go home.
Yeah.
So you could still
I was in
kind of
Vegas just a
exist.
couple of weeks ago. I did absolutely nothing other than had lunch with a good friend, had dinner with a good friend. Didn't do much. Relaxed, calmed down before I had to fly back to the zoo that we have here in L.A.
What's the liability of that place, Top Golf, over serving that dude and letting him drive off?
Oh, shit. What happened?
Is there?
I don't know. I don't know which guy you're talking about.
He's a football player.
Oh, is that where he was?
Yeah, he was
Before
at
he
Top
went
Golf.
off?
Well, then there's going to be a lot of liability. Somebody was serving him booze, and if they can show who it was, because, I don't know.
He was on the Raiders again?
Yeah, I don't know the
No, same
laws.
guy.
I don't
this
know
is
the
the
laws
guy.
over in Las Vegas, but over here, certainly civilly liable. Somebody's going to be at fault for allowing him to do that. Somebody's going to lose a chunk of their ass for that.
Yeah, but also as far as L.A., L.A.'s my heart.
Right.
This is where my family is, and this is where all my close friends are. And it doesn't mean I'm not coming back. I still have a house here, and I still go back and forth.
Yep,
and,
that's good.
And I like LA because it's got a lot of creatives.
Right.
I mean, there's all the people behind the scenes, even people that work here. Like, they talk my language.
Yeah.
And in Vegas, if you're looking for a cameraman and you're like, yo, let me see your reel, they send you the reel, looks dope, but it's just like bottle service babes and a DJ.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And Vegas is it's got what it's got. It's
Do you have a residency somewhere?
No, but I'm really not interested in a residency thing, you know, because I don't want to be locked in to anything in my life. You know, I like to bop around. If I want to go on the road,
Yeah.
I can fly and go on the road. You know, like, you know, you look at guys like Carrot Top, you know, yeah, he's making money, but I mean, his life is like he's just there all the time.
All the time.
And it's kind of like prison. You know what I mean? You're getting paid, but you have to go there every night.
Golden handcuffs.
Yeah, and it's like I like to bop around.
Danny Gans before him. Danny Gans was at the Mirage all the time. Mr. George
died,
Wallace
right?
was? He died, yeah. He died in the late 2000s.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, obviously, if they throw millions and millions of dollars at you, then you think about that. But I don't know. Being older,
Days get short, man.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
If you fucking go do the thing, by the time you get home and you sleep and you wake up, you eat, and you're like, man, I got to fucking go over there.
I know.
The days are short.
Shit, and I'm not an entertainer, and I know what you're
The
talking
days are
about.
short, yeah.
Yeah, you know, you get older, and the only thing you really have is time. You know, I have a saying where I say steak tastes the same. You know, whether you're a billionaire or a millionaire. You know what I mean? It's like you go to fucking.
Pretty good.
You know, you go to
That's a wise statement.
Yeah, you go to the Palms, you get a steak, and the bill comes. It's it's $200-$300. Whether you're you know, you got a lot of money or little money.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, you know, I've never been kind of a flashy type of person. You know, my whole life.
Right.
And I think that has a lot to do with growing up in it. I saw people go up and down, and I'm like, oh, like I'm just not one of those people that likes to spend a lot of money because the money doesn't. Materialistic things don't make me happy. You know what I mean? Like that's why I love the internet. You know, we could doing shit like this.
Yeah.
We don't have a fucking big 50 people,
Right.
you know, watching us. You can't say that. I mean, you were doing your show. I'm sure
Yeah.
you had to deal with that shit and ratings and all that. And it's like at the end of the day, you know, this is what we do.
Yeah.
You know, whether you do it at this level or a big level, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
How did it? I saw the movie Guest House. I liked it.
Thanks.
How did that come along? Who?
The gentleman who wrote it, named Sam Macaroni, and his buddy Sean.
Sean Macaroni.
Sean Noodles.
Sean Macaroni. they I guess they had the script idea.
It was fun.
Yeah, they had a script idea, and then they came. A guy saw me on Joe Rogan, and they're like, "Oh fuck, this guy should be starring in movies." Like,
Yeah.
he's been doing movies his whole life. Why isn't he doing movies?
Right.
And then I read the script. I'm like, yeah, this is fucking awesome. You know, it's a great idea. Me stuck in the guest house, you know, and then not wanting to, you know, fuck around. And then I went in there and polyized it and made it, you know, softer. I softened it and made it more, brought in more heart to it, and worked with the team, and we knocked it out.
You know what? It had a good ending, man. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a cute movie.
What was it on Netflix or?
Yeah, it's on Netflix
Yeah.
now.
What's the name of it?
Guest House. You should see it.
Yeah,
No,
it's
I will.
cute.
It's good, man, because
Yeah.
you've seen Pauly in movies, and then you're like, oh, all right. And then you see the story evolve, and then at the end,
Yeah.
you feel good.
Yeah, it's a heartfelt
Made a
film.
fucking good movie, man.
I
Yeah.
like that. I like happy endings. I don't like to watch sad endings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a touchy-feely feel-good guy.
Yeah. So
Who were
I
some of
love-
the late
yeah.
night? Who were some of the late night comedians? Like, there's that last spot, right? That late spot. A
yeah,
lot
that's
of guys.
Holtzman I told you about.
Who
he was the
who
one.
were the ones that
just
came
did-
out of there? Kinnison.
Well, you got fuck. I mean,
If you went
missed
last
fuck.
at the Comedy Store, that late spot was the spot where if you did that,
well,
you were
Mooney
gonna be a
was there.
star.
Mooney was there.
Paul Mooney was
I
great.
mean, Mooney would sit on the stool.
Yep.
You know, and have his moe, and he would just start going. And it was
Yep.
hilarious. The thing that I liked about Mooney, he didn't give a fuck about if he got a laugh. He would just start speaking, and then people would start walking. He'd be like, fuck it, go, And then eventually, he fucking hit, And then like the last 10, 15 years of his career
great.
and his life, he was fucking selling out. And I was like, thank you, because he was always like Richard Pryor's guy, or
Yeah.
he's this guy, and he never, but like his shit finally paid off.
Never wavered.
On iTunes, go look up. He has a couple albums, but the first one should have won a Grammy. It's called Race. Paul Mooney.
I've listened to so much Paul Mooney.
Fucking
All I ever
great.
listen to when I'm traveling from point A to point B down here, Kevin Hart, Laugh Factory, Laugh Comedy Central, Canadian comedy. That's all I listen to. Where before it was all oldies. That's all I listened. But for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah,
You think that porn? You think you could listen to porn like a satellite, like porn channel, where you just hear people?
Well, there ain't no doubt in my mind I could.
But this gentleman that runs this network here,
Yeah.
Bill Burr. I mean, forget
best.
about it. Fucking forget about it. I saw him last night, and I've seen everyone. I mean, I've been around. Trust me, I've been around. I've
fucking
seen
great,
it
man.
all these fucking guys, and I took a gummy, and I was sitting next to Mike Binder last night. I was with a girlfriend, and he just fucking I was dying, fucking dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, dying. And he's like Chappelle. I think him and Chappelle are the two guys that can kind of just say, fuck you, I'm just going to do this because funny's funny, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he's not a racist guy. Bill's not racist, and Chappelle's not, anti transgender and all that stuff, but they go there and it's like fucking awesome.
Yeah, but you're supposed to go there. I
Sure.
mean, there are no limits to
But
somebody's
there's a difference
topics.
between going there and being funny and going there and being not funny.
Right.
Fucking Burr's fucking funny, dude. Like he did this whole thing on abortion. I'm like,
Yes.
You saw that bit?
Yeah, I saw him a couple weeks ago,
fucking, you were there. I mean, how great is
it was so, and he got distracted because something was going on in the crowd, so he ended up like moving that bit around.
Okay.
And so he was talking later about how like I didn't love where it showed up, blah blah. It's normally my closer. It's like, yeah, you did like 15 minutes in, and it was still fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and as a comic, you're sitting there going, how the fuck does he come up with this? How does he develop? Is he right? Because I know Kennison and Bill told me this, that Sam, like when Sam did his touring, he never wrote anything. You and I write. I got pamphlets of fucking jokes because that's how I work. But sometimes I'm thinking like maybe you shouldn't write anything and you should write it all on stage.
Right.
And just work small clubs.
Probably have to record it and keep track of it.
But just trying to find the real in whatever it is, as opposed to being in your head, which is fucked up for comics because the worst thing to do is to be in your head. But if you're writing jokes, you're in your head because you're trying to fucking remember your joke. But these guys, like, I assume Bill doesn't really write anything down. Right? He doesn't write anything down.
Goes, yeah.
He just goes. That's
pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But not only is it amazing, it's probably the best thing to do, especially for an older comic like us.
Yeah.
Like, fuck the material that you write. Like, just try to. But he goes up a lot, though.
He does, and his podcast too. Like he's not necessarily like doing the bits on his podcast, but I'm a listener, and you can connect the dots. Listen for a couple months, you're like, oh, that made it into the set. That made it into the set.
You know what I mean? So start fucking practicing your jokes out on me, dude. Let's go, motherfucker. Come on,
Hey, you're the
dude.
guest. Start firing away.
Yeah.